The college football experience, Sunbelt coach rankings 1 to 14, and college football news episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, the bank account built for bettors. Sign up today, edgeboost.bet. Use our promo code SGPN and get a $25 deposit bonus. Once again, edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Brock Purdy from Iowa State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience, Sunbelt, Funbelt, coach rankings episode 1 to 14. Hope everyone had a fantastic Memorial Day. As we're close to turning the corner and starting 136 previews, which will be happening this time next week. YouTube.com/the college experience. Hop on over there, hit that like and subscribe button. 136 teams in the FBS this year, 136 previews. And then we also have the FCS college football experience. So we're just about to just bombard you with college football content, because it's never a dry moment, as we'll talk about here in a second. But if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink, and I don't have stress, and I'm healthy.
I am healthy. 136 previews. I was past couple days, cleared the mind, got away, went out into nature, fed some fucking birds, some squirrels, all that shit. Feeling good about life. And then I come back and I see these comments and I see what's going on in the college football world, and it's just the fire is still there despite whatever era we're in right now. And hopefully you caught all the rest of our coaching episodes. We have all the other conferences out, minus the CUSA and MAC, which we will knock out over the next week or so. So hop on over there. Check them all out. I am joined by my co-host. He is, first off, you've heard him on the college basketball experience as we break down every single game of the entire season over there. Give it up for former staffer in Austin P, South Carolina, and West Virginia, Ryan McIntyre, aka Moneyline Mac. How are you, brother?
What is going on, man? And post Memorial Day, I feel like we're getting closer and closer and closer. The next Monday holidays, Labor Day, which means college football. Let's go, baby.
Mac tonight. Come on, make it Mac tonight. 100%. And shout out to college baseball. Go check out the college baseball experience. I was at the ACC tournament this weekend, giving Jim Phillips his salary, and just college baseball, man, is fucking destroying it right now. We will have episodes for you every single other day of the week. What a great run by my East Carolina Pirates. So, I thought I was going to start off with in a negative way, but let's talk about the East Carolina Pirates. There we go. They tried to write us off, Mac, and what were we, 6th seed, I think it was, in the AAC tournament. Yeah. 6th seed, people say, oh, Cliff Godwin's washed up. Not so fast, all right? Not so fast. We had a young club. We come together, boom. We're dancing, baby. We're dancing. Watch out. Watch out, Gators. Beanick, you listening? Watch out, Gators. We're coming for you Friday morning. But yeah, check out the college baseball experience for more on that, man. But it is college football season. I always say the day after Labor Day, I feel like that starts college football season. Yes, college baseball season can still be thriving at the same time. But this is where we dive into it. 136 previews coming. And of course, I thought I was naive, Mac.
Ignorant season too.
Oh, and I'm the king of that. I was naive to think that we were out of the woods maybe with this, for the past like 3 or 4 seasons of doing this. Remember, we've been doing this show 8 years. And a couple years ago it was Texas, Oklahoma leaving, right? Then you're thinking, okay, it's USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington joining the Big Ten. And you're like, God damn, this fucking thing is terrible. And then it was the paying the players or whatever, the NIL becoming legal one of those years too. So, I mean, each year you're like, these catastrophic things are happening within the sport and you're thinking, okay, I think we're going to have a clean off season. Naive. I was naive. And nothing I don't think has been finalized yet, but man, if you are tuning in to just a couple of the things that are currently happening in the sport, it's tragic, man. USC and Notre Dame have been playing for over 100 years.
Crazy.
Over 100 years of life. I like to think of college football as the most American thing sport that we have. A lot of people say baseball, but college football dates back to pretty much those similar times. It's just not the NFL. The NFL started in the 1920s, but this is one of the most American things we have, I think, in this country. And USC Notre Dame is an element of that, a layer of that. So Lincoln Riley and I think it's USC's athletic director have both, they're playing this year, but they offered I think Notre Dame an extension for 1 year, meaning next year. Notre Dame declined because they went more than 1 year. That's kind of how college football schedules come together. But their reasoning is that the schedule's too tough. Why would we add Notre Dame to the schedule? Or why would we do this when we already go cross country so other times? Which, I mean, I just find it fucking hilarious because it's like, well, we didn't force you to blow up the Pac-12. You made that decision. And when I say USC, I mean you solely. Oregon and Washington tailed late. UCLA wasn't getting the invite without USC. So this is 100% a problem that you fucking created. And now you're going to potentially destroy one of the best rivalries in college football, all because the mileage, when you signed up to play fucking Rutgers, the mileage and the wear and tear and the non-con schedule is too challenging. Please, Mac, I want to know your thoughts on what the hell we got going on here, because I mean, each year I just, first off, and I thought, shout out to Stuart Mandel. I thought he made a great point, and I've clashed with him before, but I thought he made a great point by saying, like, how many fans, if you take this from, I used to bartend at a USC bar downtown LA. If you take this game from them, how many games does the USC fan base care about? And I used to get packed for USC, but USC fans do exist. It's not like UCLA, right? Stanford was a rivalry game, right? UCLA is a rivalry game. Cal's a rivalry game, right? Oregon has somewhat turned into a rivalry game since the Nike money started coming in. But I think Mandel's got a great point. If you take Notre Dame off the schedule, how many games do the average USC fan care about? And I want to know your thoughts on just the fact that this could possibly be ending.
Man, I hate it, man. I hate all this. Like, this rivalry started in 1926. So this is almost 100 years old now. And unfortunately, with conference realignment, it feels like they take a little bit here, they take an inch, then they take a mile. And like you said, this is the unfortunate part of the season where bombs drop left and right. And as for Lincoln Riley and USC, give me a break on the travel. I mean, you're in the Big Ten, you're going to Rutgers, you're going to Maryland. Hell, all your games are in the Central Time Zone. as for the challenging non-con, unfortunately, the other teams in their league, Michigan, their national championship year, Ohio State this last year, these teams have been able to play Cupcake City, and we've highlighted some of the SEC teams as well, to the point where Notre Dame's like, well, shit, we should, or USC's like, we should just do the same. And of course, Notre Dame's going to be the first one that they're going to pull. But I mean, dude, it like at some point it just goes, do we remember what college football is? Like, we're just trying to turn this into the goddamn NFL more and more day by day for whatever reason. I don't understand. The NFL product, in both our opinions, has gone down. And I don't know why the college football TV execs want to go more and more like the NFL.
Well,
stay unique.
Well, they don't understand that it'll never be able to deliver like the like. You know,
They're different for a reason.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I remember arguing with, you know, some people say, well, NFL ratings are so much better than college football. And I go, yeah, but there's fucking over 700 teams in college football. You know what I mean? Like, you're comparing something with 300 teams. Like, okay, you want to do the attendance with 700 teams against the attendance with 32 because college football has the biggest stadiums in the sport. But it's all a stupid argument. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know why they're infatuated with trying to turn it into. It will never be that, because you'll never have. It's too complex. There's too many things. There's state laws in the way. There's all this other shit. But man, I'm looking at their schedule right now. USC's 2025 schedule, and I will say, credit to USC. They're one of the few teams that has never played an FCS. All right, I mean, like, they do challenge themselves. Last year they had LSU week 1. Yeah. Right. And Notre Dame somewhere along in the season. And then I think their other game was Utah State, who's like traditionally a bowl team. So they normally do schedule aggressively, but still you don't ditch the long rival especially because you created the problem. But right now I'm looking at their schedule. Missouri State week 1, Georgia Southern week 2, at Purdue week 3, home to Michigan State week 4, at Illinois week 5, bye week 6, week 7, you're home to Michigan. Fans will care about that one. Then you're at Notre Dame, but that's the one potentially going away. Then you have a bye week. You're at Nebraska, home to Northwestern, home to Iowa, at Oregon, and home to UCLA. So hypothetically, if this was their schedule next year without Notre Dame, I would be willing to bet that your average lifelong USC fan would only really care about the Michigan game, the Oregon game, and the UCLA game. So you're basically taking it down to a 3-game season. I just think this is just absolutely insane. Like, I understand, okay, it's a tough schedule. You know, dumb down your 11th and 12th game if need be, but also I would argue that your strength of schedule also gets you into the mix. Like, say they do lose a couple games. You saw it with Alabama last year. Alabama, their losses to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, and they were still almost got in because of the strength of schedule. So to me, USC could be in a similar vein. The Notre Dame can actually bump you and help you out, as opposed to looking at it the other way. But I still think it's something that a head coach or athletic director should not be in charge of. This should be written. It should be like in the fucking college football constitution. All of these rivalries should be in the constitution saying you have to play these games. But unfortunately, we're letting these TV execs and I guess Lincoln Riley potentially dictate this.
You know, and Colby, we say this in college basketball where it's like still undercovered and we don't want them to fuck it up. Like, stay away. Stay the hell away. Like, yes, we want more exposure. We want more games on TV, ESPN Plus, yada, yada, yada. But do not mess with the product. And that's because, for whatever reason in college sports, the fan is what makes college sports great. The traditions, the student body, the fans, the traditions, and just the overall cultures, whether it's SEC country, Big 10 country, Big 12 country, ACC country, whatever it is, and the rivalries and just the years and years. Oh, you remember the game in 88 or 93? We beat Army Navy. I mean, they still talk about those games 50 years ago.
100%, man.
For whatever reason, the TV execs don't give a shit what the fan thinks. Even the fan is what makes the sport so great. And like you look at, and that's why I keep going back to with the NFL. Like the NFL games, in my opinion, are boring because the atmospheres are kind of lame.
It's like, oh, you work at AT&T. Well, we have this package. You get to go to Raider games. Here you go. So it's like, oh, I work. It's like a happy hour. Whereas like college football to me, like, don't get me wrong, there's drinking, but it's part of the way of life. You know what I mean? It's completely different. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're letting people that don't know the culture come in and tell you, no, you should do it this way. It's like, well, why would we do it that way when we've been doing it this way for years and years, decades and centuries, and it's been a great thing. I mean, the numbers won't go anywhere if they just stay the hell out of the way, but they want to put their spin on it. It's what happens when politicians get involved.
Yeah, and they don't understand the sport. I think that's the real problem there. But it's funny. I was hanging out with NC Nick. We went to the ACC tournament. And he was saying somehow we started talking about the NCAA tournament basketball. And he was at the game when Mercer upset Duke, and he's a Duke fan. But he goes, dude, I was in line to get beer. And, when you buy the NCAA tournament package, you're there for like multiple games. Yep. When you go to a tournament game. He was like, I seen these guys that played basketball at Mercer in the 70s doing shots, saying we fucking did this. So they feel like it's still part of their shit. Right. Yes. And that's what you're alluding to. Now I can attest to this as, like I said, I bartended in LA for a long time, and specifically a USC place, a place that was open over 100 years. And it was a USC bar. And I specifically can recall times I would have a regular come in for the USC Notre Dame game that kicked a big time field goal that tied the game up in 73. And the drunker he gets, that's like the only thing. I tied it up in 73. McKay told me I better make this field goal, right? And you just got to understand that's college sports right there. It is pro. No one remembers the fucking kick at 73 unless you won the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as much, but it's a bummer. I really hope they find a way to make this thing, continue on. But I mean, they have so many problems right now with what we'll talk about with what's coming down the pipeline potentially. But before I do that, I do want to let the good people know that you are listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And look, the SGP guys are going to be ripping packs live on air next Monday night. They'll be breaking a case of Panini Prisms and Daps. And you can get 10% off your favorite team with promo code SGPN. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/break to get in on all the action. I have no idea what the fuck. That shit might as well been in Chinese. What the fuck is that? And it just sounds like I have no idea what I just read. But anyway, check it out. It's going to be fantastic. Also, want to tell you that the College Football Experience is brought to you by Edge Boost. Edge Boost, first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are improved. Look, there's no usage fees. There's no minimums, no credit checks. Not going to find out that you're parking your Cadillac 2 blocks up and throwing some tumbleweeds on the behind the license plate so they don't find it. Right? You can earn cash back rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits. Like I said, sign up today at edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN. Deposit $25 and Edge Boost will match that deposit. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Man, I love playing some college football Underdog Fantasy. It's only a few months away, but right now, NBA, NHL, MLB, UFL. I've been playing UFL Underdog Fantasy. Why not? All right. I really think there's an edge you can't find elsewhere. So you want to hop in and look, they're going long. They, for the NBA playoffs, they extended their bonus. Hop in game 1, and the longer the series goes, the bigger the bonus gets. So sign up, and when you do, use our promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back on the College Football Experience. Shout out to the chat. Once again, you can be a part of this chat. Come hop in, Tyler, ripping packs. Yeah. I mean, I have no idea. It's fun reading some of these ads. What's not fun is, well, actually, I'll get to the Greg Sankey stuff in a second. But CBS released their coach rankings. As we, I find like we're doing coach rankings conference by conference. Now we're doing the group of 5, unlike those filthy whores. But I mean, tell me you got a chance to take a look at this, because I just, could there be a more lazy slab of journalism than the top 25 coaches, or I'm sorry, they ranked every Power 5 school. So there's one page that's top 25, and then they give you the 26 through 68 on another page. But man, and I know we're talking about them, so I mean, who really won? It's probably them. But I just thought, what a slap in the face of great college football coaching and fandom and everything. I mean, what was your first reaction when you saw this list of coaches? Because I just, it made me just right from the start, I must spit out my drink.
I would say that those guys who ranked this need to go watch our Big 12 coaches power rankings, because yes, I'm the Big 12 guy. The Big 12 guys got shafted on this list. Rich Rod at West Virginia, Willie Fritz, Gundy. Gundy's like 40. What? And you just go down. It's just, you wonder. And Chiano, like guys, like, do they understand how hard and how difficult some of these jobs are versus some of these other ones where I could take a Rich Rod, or I could take a Willie Fritz or Mike Gundy or Greg Schiano and place them there, and they're going to be just as good or probably better. And they just, it was a lazy ranking. And I do like the part of the article where it's like the biggest high and biggest low. Like the biggest discrepancy. It's almost like we ranked the ones on the high. So you had somebody in there that had a little bit of common sense, and then I don't know who the hell was on the low side, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, someone had one of their, and this is all their college football staff. This is not fans, folks. They had one of them had Mario Cristobal at 11. Like Mario Cristobal, everyone had him. So the average of the vote has him number at 20. I would love for someone to explain to me how you have Mario Cristobal ahead of Rich Rodriguez, ahead of Sonny Dykes, who took TCU to the fucking national championship.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think like Mario Cristobal should be in the bottom like 10, right? Like I honestly like there's so many good coaches that I find it's such a slap in their face that it's mind-boggling to me. Even like the over, like I was like, okay, where will Sark be on this? Oh, of course, of course. I get it. There is a skill at Texas to being able to, we've seen some coaches fail there, but there is a skill to working with all those boosters and everything. But still, like to have him as the 4th best coach in the fucking country is insane to me. Is fucking insane to me.
How is he above DeVore?
Yeah.
DeVore beat him at Washington.
That's what I'm saying. It makes no sense, man. It's like it was just so lazy they have Rich Rodriguez. Do I need to remind you folks that Rich Rodriguez basically had West Virginia on the verge of a national championship appearance when there was no playoff, right? Then okay, at Michigan he struggled, but he was kickstarting it, and he'll be the first to tell you that. But then at Arizona, which is not known to be winning a lot of games in football, he took them to the Pac-12 championship multiple fucking times. Then he takes an FBS or an FCS up to the FBS and wins their conference in year 2. Shut the fuck up! Like it is a really just a lazy article. I just could not believe. I mean, and I guess they're taking the average, but it just makes me wonder, like, how are they just phone it in after 5? Is there a oh man, I got to fill this out? Is it like I guess I got to fill this out? Or is it actually like, are you putting work into this? Because if you're putting work into this, I can't take this serious. But Mario Cristobal, ahead of some of those coaches, I thought was one of the most, like one of the biggest jokes you could read in the entire offseason. So go check out CBS's coach rankings there for the TMZ takes. Also, Greg Sankey. Oh, man.
Do we have to cover this?
I don't want to, dude, but I feel like if we're a college football podcast, like this is one that makes you like, it hurts me. It fucking hurts me to talk about this because first off, and like I was coming at it, I spent my Labor Day, my Memorial Day having cocktails, arguing with fucking Josh Pate because, you know, you're saying just this is what you wanted, this you wanted the playoffs. Because, you know, it's been rumored, this has still not been official, that the SEC and Big Ten are fighting for 4 auto bids in a 16-team playoff. I don't understand the purpose of auto bids besides one. I think it screams corruption, and I'll get to Sankey's comments in a second. But 4 auto bids, this is my problem with what's going on right now. It's complete greed by those conferences, but also they're not looking at the future. One thing we've learned about college football, and despite this is what I was trying to explain to our friend Pate, the sport changes. The sport changes. Minnesota once was winning national championships like every fucking year, right? Fordham was doing things too with Vince Lombardi, right? SMU at one point, they popped back up. Right. But I'm saying the sport does fucking change drastically. Actually, I know you can sit there and say, well, Ohio State's still been Ohio State. Yes, there are some mainstays within the sport, but the sport has changed a lot. Boise State was a fucking community college right around the time I was born. So to look at it and think that this is not going to have ramifications down the road, especially when you're starting to see like Duke throwing money, Texas Tech throwing money. You got Coach Prime at Colorado getting them excited. Dillingham at Arizona State. Like, it is naive to think, especially in this era where everybody can pay players. So you're about to have the great equalizer. To me, to give 4 auto bids to a conference is one of the most insane things I've ever fucking heard. Now, in the old days, ironically, I think it actually, I mean, I still would vote against it, but I'm saying like it makes more sense on a system where the teams are cheating as far as paying players, right? Not cheating on the field, but cheating as far as the players being paid. But I'm curious your thoughts on 4 fucking auto bids. How ridiculous is this?
The SEC is just so bitter that it's evening out. And I mean, they won one playoff game last year, and it was on a
questionable call against Arizona State, who spends way less than them. Yeah.
And I mean, the Big Ten is not pulled even. I'd say the SEC is still better, but the Big Ten has won the last 2 national championships, and that's not the end all be all on measuring how good a league is top to bottom. I know people love doing the draft comparison or the draft breakdown, even though everybody transfers every other 10 minutes. So I think you can pretty much throw that out the window. But I just think that it's evening out more, and I don't. Why can't we just have the 16 best teams? I don't understand why.
Get your 5 auto bids, right? Or 4. There's 4 power conferences, and then figure out the rest based off of your rankings, which are already fucking corrupt. And I'm willing to give that a fucking pass because it's less corrupt than this. That's the problem, though, Mac. Is you have this day and age now where you're going to have equal paying. It's like they want to stay powerful. They want to stay greedy. But Texas Tech soon, assuming all this goes the way we think, will still be paying the same amount of players, or their players, whoever, Texas Tech, Minnesota, whatever. Their players, they're going to be dealing out the same amount of money. Now, obviously, your boosters can go past that, and I'm sure some will. But you're in this day and age where I actually feel like you've gotten parity for college football to a certain extent, right? You've gotten more parity, but they're not okay with the parity.
No, they don't.
Right?
Want that.
They don't want the parity, right? So they're creating this bullshit. We must. I like someone was asking me or DMing me this weekend my thoughts on this. Of like, do you think this is good? No, I think it's horrible for the sport. But to going back to the Pate conversation, it was like Pate saying, you guys asked for the playoffs. We asked for a playoffs just because more teams we wanted in. There were undefeated teams like Florida State and UCF that were not getting representation. So what was the point of the fucking season? We did not ask for auto bids for 4 fucking teams in each conference and 2 of the quote unquote power conferences. But I can remember a time when the Big 12 was the best fucking conference, or certain years other teams or other conferences got up, right? But
I don't get his argument on that. It confuses me.
Yeah, no, it's something that I like. The play more opportunity is good. I'll even say this: even with the 4 auto bids, it's still better than a system where you don't get in.
Yeah,
right? Even with that.
Yes.
So I don't know. I just felt like. But anyway, my point: Greg Sankey was at SEC. What are they? They're not media days. They're fucking some other thing. But
like pre-media day.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Now, what the hell's happening here? Right? You got these things being covered
on Memorial Day. It's strange.
Yeah, that's true too. A holiday weekend too. I didn't think about that. But SEC pre-media days, whatever the fuck you want to call it. He has Greg Sankey kind of like basically mocked the ACC and Big 12, which had said that like they want to keep integrity in college football. So they're going to go to a for next year, because essentially, let me see if I can explain this correctly. We have one more deal or one more year of the original 12-team playoff on next year, this upcoming season. So we're stuck with that, right? We are now going to straight seeding, right? Which it should have been from the fucking start, right? But straight seeding wouldn't have given Boise State a bye last year, and you know, you could argue a bunch of other stuff. But because of that, they're waiving that, and someone stuck a microphone in front of Yormark's face and Jim Phillips' face, and apparently they had not talked about this, and they said similar things. We need to do what's right and keep the integrity of the sport. And Greg Sankey, I guess, read that as a shot at him. So then Greg Sankey said, let me see if I can quickly grab exactly what he said. But he basically said,
I don't need people lecturing me on what's good for the game.
Yes. And now, you know, he also said, though, that people in his conference want to have asked him, why are we even a part of the NCAA? Which is fucking hilarious. Yeah. Buddy, I don't know. Florida just won the national championship in basketball. We got this NCAA baseball tournament happening. And by the way, this is where I remind you that every single team within the NCAA, you have the power. You are the ones that hire the NCAA. You control this, especially the power schools, which, the entire SEC is pretty much power schools. I just thought this was pretty ridiculous of what he was saying. And I mean, the irony here of some of the stuff he said was that he is the one that is responsible for the damage to the sport. He keeps saying like, no, but it's like, dude, you took Oklahoma and Texas. Had you not done that, which I understand you could play devil's advocate and say, well, they would have only went to the Big 10 or they would have went to the Pac-12, whatever, right? And that would have strengthened them. But you cannot tell me that you weren't a direct part of the problem that created this mess. To then say some of the things he said, I just find completely narcissistic.
Sankey should be in politics.
God. Like, it's really unbelievable. Some of the stuff and dude, I really hope that, I just hope we can make it through this. I know I will say you've had some politicians step forward. I don't know. Did you catch this by chance? Did you
Trump with Saban?
No. Since then, so since this weekend's comments, I know you were at a bachelor party, but I'm saying Congressman Brandon Boyle tweeted this thing off. Let me say this as clearly as I can. The Big Ten and SEC should be very, very careful about some of the decisions they are about to make because they appear hell-bent on ruining major college football. And I think they need a congressional hearing into their collusion. I don't know what the fuck that means because politics, but I'm saying, I mean, obviously it means something, but how much weight do you put into this shit? Like, do you think they're going to get 4 auto bids? Do you think this is going to actually be the blueprint of the sport moving forward?
You know, they'll get something. It feels like everything's a bargaining chip, and maybe he's swinging for the fences so that he can hit a triple instead. So maybe they get 3, even though I think that's stupid. It usually meets there somewhere in the middle with negotiations. But I mean, I don't get the whole fucking thing about we're going to leave the NCAA. Okay, then what? You have just a 16-team league and.
Yeah,
you just have an SEC league. All right, have fun.
I've always said that even if they got the Big Ten to leave, okay, what is that? Yeah. 18 teams plus throw it 34 teams.
34.
We can grab 34 tomorrow. Shit, let's go. We got Sac State already coming next year.
Well, right? It would just turn into it would be the NFL.
Yeah.
Saturdays. It would be the AFC and NFC. And I mean, I'm sure, we would still watch, I guess, but I would prefer the other product.
Yeah.
I would watch the Big 12, ACC, Mountain West and those guys, because that would be more purity of college football. But I'm with you, man. I don't I hate this era. Unfortunately, they just keep crowbarring stuff at us.
And one of the things he said was that now he was taking a shot at Indiana. I think now you can have a better record, than the tougher schedule, which is Alabama, basically saying they don't pay attention to strength of schedule, which is asinine.
Sick of that.
Asinine
schedule.
Well, they lost to fucking Vanderbilt. It was 6-6. Where then I don't believe they ever had the lead in that game. And then Oklahoma destroyed them, which Oklahoma lost to Navy in the bowl game. Like, I don't know. I just felt like the Alabama thing is so stale to me on this. And I heard Kalen DeBoer say, imagine if we would have got in. Well, what? You would have lost probably in the first round because you weren't that good all fucking year. Like,
you lost to Michigan.
Yeah. You with all their backups, the balls to say this. These people are insane. These people are like, I lost to Vanderbilt.
They just say shit and then they don't think you're going to push back. And when you push back, they just go, you don't know anything. Like, or they're still living in the mid 2000s of their dynasties. It's hilarious. Some of these SEC fans, I love the passion. I love their fan bases. I love SEC country, but they're out of their minds. Their shit stinks just like everybody else's.
How about Florida athletic director Scott Strickland?
Oh, what's he saying? He said 10-2 in a different league.
Oh yeah, Florida, right? They haven't sniffed the fucking playoffs in football
since
a committee is not ideal to choose a postseason. I question whether it's appropriate for college football. Huh. Well, that's interesting because he was on the committee from 2018 to 2020. Just sounds like he's saying whatever the fuck Sankey. He's just trying to echo Sankey. Now, how about this? They say they're going to Trev Alberts, the athletic director of Texas A&M, former Nebraska linebacker. He said that we'll go to the 9-game conference schedule, basically alluding that this is what the war is going on of if they get the 4 auto bids. I say fuck you. If I'm the Big 12, ACC, and even the Big 10, I'd be like, hey, fuck you. You're the one
that's the bargaining chip.
Yeah,
they're always trying to do something. Just like, why does everything have to be a scheme with the SEC?
Yeah, it's unbelievable that's the thing for playing 9th conference game. Oh, like I understand some of your, but you still have fucking Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Mississippi State. These teams have not been fucking powerhouses over the course of my life. So stop acting. I get it. You got some powerhouses. You got some heat. But with everyone paying your players now, other teams are coming up out of this. They're clinging on, man. They're clinging on. But I fear that this is going to be a reality and we're going to have 4 auto bids for the Big Ten and the SEC. And that needs to not happen because imagine then what that does to recruiting. See, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do that because then you're basically, think about that, man. You're going to have late November games where the 6th place team in a conference. You want to talk about devaluing the regular season. This is devaluing the regular season.
And you felt the clinging on last year when as soon as Indiana got down against Notre Dame, they pounced. Well, as soon as SMU got down, they pounced. And it was like, you guys better be careful. Tennessee hasn't played yet. And Tennessee got boat raced by Ohio State. Ohio State could have named that score. And then it was just like, oh no, that was the toughest matchup by far. It's just like,
I mean, it was the toughest matchup, but at the same time, Tennessee, I don't think was that good all year.
No,
I think they had a great schedule.
Schedule. Yeah.
8-game conference schedule and everything else lined up for them. So anyway, I just some of the stuff going on in the sport, like I hate having to talk about that, but I feel like I got so many DMs. I got so many DMs about, hey, Dundee, I want to know your thoughts about this 4 auto bid thing. It's terrible. Like it's terrible. And I'll if you think it's just centered around the SEC and Big Ten, no, I don't like the 2 auto bids for the ACC or the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think it should just be like Lane Kiffin said, the 16 best teams. Okay. Make the conference championship because we know they're not, I would be in favor of getting rid of the conference championships because I don't like the neutral site bullshit, but if you're going to keep that, which TV execs will, then just have your 4 auto bids or 5 auto bids, your one group of 5, and then seed the next 11 teams. Pretty simple to me, but they don't want to do that. I love how the SEC argues that, but they always or the Big Ten, you're going to get the teams anyway. You get special treatment already. It's like Notre Dame. You get special treatment already. We just talked about Tennessee getting in. You know what I mean? There's teams that are overrated every fucking year that get that love because they're in the SEC or they're in the Big Ten. So please stop. I beg you. Do not go to 4 auto bids. All right. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Let's jump over to these Sunbelt coaches. But before I do that, I want to let the good folks know that College Football Experience is brought to you by Rhythm. CT Rhythm is your home for AI-backed picks and props. Dominate the NBA playoffs, PGA, MLB, and look, they just launched the WNBA models. Rhythm knows you're going to love their product too. That's why they give you a 7-day free trial period. And look, Rhythm's got some amazing deals going on right now. 25% off monthly subscription with the promo code SGPN25 and 50% off the annual subscription with the promo code SGPN50. That's Rhythm, RITHMM, promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. Get your free 7-day trial period. Also, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Circa's Ultimate Fantasy Football Giveaway. Look, fantasy sports are always a bundle of fun, right? But what Circa is doing, Circa Hotel there, downtown Las Vegas, Nevada, is incredible. Look, Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas is giving away the ultimate fantasy football experience for a 12-person league to draft in Las Vegas and be treated like VIPs for their entire stay. And the winner will receive a 2-night stay at Circa Resort and Casino for their entire 12-person league, 6 double king rooms. Also, you'll be able to hold your draft at the Cabana there, Stadium Swim. If you haven't seen Stadium Swim, Google image that. That thing's fucking awesome. I want to die there. All right. They're going to give you at Stadium Swim a $5,000 food and beverage credit, limo transportation to and from the airport, a welcome party at the Legacy Club for the league. Ric Flair was there a few weeks back getting shit faced. A reservation at the world's largest sports book, which obviously is inside of Circa. And they're going to give you a $500 beverage credit for the league at that sports book. A 2-hour open bar package for the league at the Overhang Bar as well. The contest runs from May 5th to June 30th. Here's how you enter. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa. That's CIRCA. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa. We're also brought to you by mybookie.ag. Yes, MyBookie is your place to bet on every single sport, including the NBA playoffs. And for the true DGens. The MyBookie money bag is a bundle of fun, and MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of different locations, even outside of the states. There, you can easily deposit, get lightning fast payouts using crypto. Head on over to mybookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions do apply, but that's our promo code TCESGPN over at mybookie.ag. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, we are back on the college football experience, and now we will be talking Sunbelt. Look, we've done this exercise here. On each conference's coaches, we rank what we think are the best coaches going in. So we're basically ranking every single FBS coach. And the Sunbelt is kind of, I thought, in this transitional phase. We love the Sunbelt, I think. I know myself, NC Nick, Patty C, of all, obviously Patty C's a JMU fan, but I know, they're kind of like a throwback conference. I've been to a Sunbelt game 25 years ago. That was Idaho playing at Middle Tennessee at Johnny Red Floyd Stadium. That Sunbelt looked a lot like the Conference USA, right? Or the Big Ten now. Somewhere along the line, somebody at Sunbelt headquarters said, wait a sec, what the fuck are we doing? Let's be college football. And they added some of the best FCS programs and brought in a bunch of teams. And they're like to me, they're like the most regional conference in all the landscape. Maybe the MAC would maybe be more, but I love the conference and the redirection it took from those days back before. But how'd you find this coaching exercise? Because it was a little interesting.
It was, and you've got a couple coaches that replaced really good ones, in Napier and Chadwell that haven't done very good jobs in their first couple years, and you got some other guys that have bounced from the high major back down to the Sun Belt. They were okay at the high major, not great, not horrible though. And then you got a couple of young coaches, I think, that are on the rise, and it's not the Mountain West from a coaching standpoint. That's a good way of putting it.
Well, a few years ago, they were sitting there with Kurt Cignetti, John Sumrall, Jamie Chadwell, Billy Napier, and you're thinking, damn, this conference is running deep. And Neil Brown did great at Troy. The conference has been good before. Now, I do think this exercise was a little all over the place because you have so much turnover over like a 2-year stretch or 3-year stretch. Even your richest programs have essentially, for whatever reason, fired their coach or pushed him out the door. And I think that leads to a lot of, I think our numbers might be a little bit all over the place here. What was the last conference we did? AAC, I thought, was like almost, if I may say, I want people to go listen to it, but we almost agreed too much. It was like, God damn. I was like, what's the point of doing this episode? I just could have done this one solo. But this one, I think, is kind of more all over the place. Let's jump into it. Shout out to the chat, Robert Martin and NF in there. At number 14, there are 14 teams in the Sun Belt, and I am going to lead things off. As you see here, youtube.com/the college experience. I have Gerard Parker at Troy as my 14th ranked head coach. To be honest, if I may, I was shocked by the hire when it happened. This was a guy that at Notre Dame, the minute he leaves, the offense looks a lot better. But also, he was a tight ends coach at Notre Dame in 22. Then when Brian Kelly left, I felt like Marcus Freeman kind of scrambled and said, Gerard Parker, he's our guy. And I guess he didn't do horrible because Notre Dame did all right. But at the same time, I just don't think it was, I didn't see him on the radar. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. He didn't have a history of coaching at really any mid majors. I mean, he's at UT Martin for 2 years, 2008. But then came last season at Troy. So I kind of just was like, that was a weird hire, Gerard Parker. But then he went 4-8, and to me, it was how he went 4-8. To me, that was part of the reason why I ranked him at 14. They just did not look good to me. And I know it's year one, so you don't want to be too harsh. But as Robert Martin saying in the chat right now, 3-5 in conference ain't cutting it. Yeah, it to me was a lot of an eye test on the ranking there. But also, I didn't like the hire from the start. Not to say that. It just was random to me. I thought there was a bunch of other coaches that they were going to go. I was a bit baffled by this one. Moneyline Mac at number 14, you had the likes of Dell McGee, which I think we can kind of throw in the similar bin of, I didn't see the hire coming, but I also didn't expect Sean Elliott to leave to go to South Carolina. What was it, April or March a season ago?
I think it's mid-February.
Yeah. Okay. Well, either way, it was late in the coaching cycle. But tell me why you have Dell McGee, because I will say this: I thought, considering the hand he was dealt, they overachieved. I know 3-9 seems insane.
Like, Vanderbilt.
Well, not only beat and Texas State, who was the preseason favorite to win the Sun Belt, but also they had a month on the road. Mid season, which I don't know that I've ever seen that in college football in this day and age. Like, you have to go back to like the 70s or something where teams would just schedule to schedule. They didn't really, nowadays with TVs and stuff, it just changed the whole fucking sport. A month on the road mid season, I can see why Sean Elliott was like, I'm out of here. But tell me why you have Dell McGee at 14.
A lot of the same reason you just said with Parker. I don't know if he was really that qualified for the job. I know, not that he wasn't. That may be the wrong term. I just didn't see the hire coming. But like you said, Elliott left, and I wish they were able to win more than one Sun Belt conference game, just because I thought the Sun Belt could be had a little bit last year from the bottom up. I mean, you look at see what Monroe was able to do it with the year one head coach. So I thought that they lacked consistency. But I mean, his 2 wins were impressive though. I mean, his 2 wins were Vandy and in Texas State on the road. So I went back and forth with Tim and Parker. I ended up going with Dell McGee, and I'll say why I went with Parker here in a little bit when we get to him. But yeah, he was a hard guy to rank. And I want to see another year. Just because I didn't really see the hire coming, just like Parker.
Yeah, no. Well, the hire at that point, the difference is with the Parker thing to me, and I know you're going to talk about him in a second, but like they had all offseason. Like the Dell McGee one, it was like when Colorado got Carl Durrell. It was like, man, Mel Tucker left so late. It's like, who the fuck can we even get right now? Right?
Yeah.
I think that's maybe the way I looked at it, of like, considering how late in the offseason it was, and then I thought, beating an SEC team in year one, having a month on the fucking road, which by the way, they lost all of those fucking games. I thought it was a really tough. I thought it might've been one of the hardest jobs to walk into was last season. Yeah. So, but you have Dell McGee at 14. At number 13, I have Tim Beck. I am not a big fan. I have an ongoing joke. If you're a first time listener, so Tim Beck, Coastal Carolina's head coach, shares the same name as the Vanderbilt offensive coordinator, Tim Beck. Right. So like, I believe there might be some validity to this. Now no one's told me anything. This is me putting on my tinfoil hat, but hear me out for a second here.
They hired the wrong one.
Hear me out. So Tim Beck at Vanderbilt was at Pittsburgh State, the Gorillas, a D2 program where he was awesome. He was 82-35, right? He then goes to TCU as an offensive analyst, and they go to the national championship. Then he goes to New Mexico State for 2 years. They take them bowling both years, and they beat Auburn at Auburn. And then he goes to Vanderbilt. And last year was his first year they went bowling. Now, obviously, they wouldn't have had the Vanderbilt year on the resume, but I believe that that's the Tim Beck they wanted to hire, because that's an awesome resume. This Tim Beck was previously at NC State, where they were not known for their offense. Right, 2000 to 2022. If anything, those 2 years or 3 years, they weren't an offensive juggernaut. Now, obviously, he's had stops before in Nebraska and Ohio State and Texas and stuff, but I find it very random to me when a offense is not charting well and you get promoted to head coach. That just is very. It's not common in college football.
Yeah,
which makes me think they got the wrong Beck. I think they got the wrong Beck, but anyway, Tim Beck at Coastal Carolina. Look, I was at Brooks Stadium a year ago. Now I will say to his credit, he has done a good job with their rivals, App State, because I was there when they beat him, and they beat him the year before in Boone. But he's 14-12 in 2 years, and to me, his first year, he was lucky enough that Grayson McCall, aka Big Bird, stayed with him. I thought last year was more of a step to his program and not what they were before. And they were 6-7 last year. And I just am not sold. And especially like some of the games, it's the way they get their ass whooped. Like JMU beat them 39-7, right? Just put it on them. Georgia Southern 26-6, UTSA 44-15. That is why I have him ranked at number 13. I didn't understand the hire when it happened. I still think I think he's not going to make it. I think after this year, assuming Coastal has the finances to be able to juggle, because you're starting to see in college football the coaches get a little longer of a tenure because they got to pay the players. But I don't think it's going to work out. I think either this year or next year he will be fired. But yeah, I have him at number 13. At number 13 for you, Mac Gerard Parker. Okay, the floor is yours again.
Yeah, horrible first year, to be honest. I mean, 4-8, taking over a program that has traditionally won here. The one thing I will say is they did not quit on him, because they were sitting at 1-7, and they rallied off 3 out of the last 4 games,
including Georgia Southern. I think they kind of ruined their Georgia Southern was looking like they're going to be in the driver's seat for a second there.
Yeah, they beat them on the road, and then they kind of beat the shit out of Coastal and then blew out Southern Miss. I know they were dealing with the coaching change, but that was my only reason for bumping them up one spot. Is they did get better throughout the year, but still, they should have been better than 4-8.
Yeah. I mean, look, they could make us look like fools this next year. The Parker one is one when you're only 1 year in, I will give you a pass, but I still think, like, to me, earlier, the hiring was out of left field to me. I did not even have this. It was like what? They hired him? Very similar to the Beck situation in Coastal. So Parker at number 13. At number 12 for me is Dowell Loggins. This one is a tricky one for me. So
mystery hire.
Well, it's like, why Dundee? Why did you put him here? I think the unknown is appealing. Whereas like with Beck, we've seen 2 years now, and I think the team's gotten worse each year. Parker, I didn't like the eye test. Like App State normally does a pretty good job hiring coaches. Go back to the 80s. I know Jerry Moore was there for a long time, but Satterfield, Drinkwitz, even Sean Clark did a decent job for a certain amount of time, but the wheels fell off. So I kind of trust the people that they put in charge of football. That has to do with some of my my ranking here. He was now what's intriguing is he was an NFL guy such a long time now. He played quarterback at Arkansas. But normally NFL coaches really struggle. I know we've highlighted that on this show. I think the narrative often is college coaches struggle in the NFL, which I think they actually hit at a higher percent going to the NFL than NFL coaches coming down to the college ranks. So in that regard, I'm intrigued. Now he has been in college football the past 4 years. So at Arkansas and South Carolina. So I don't know if it counts as a full-on NFL hire, but I just will say prior to that, he was in the NFL for 12 years. So I don't know where you pigeonhole that. It's a mystery hire to me, but the unknown has me more optimistic than the previous two. So at number 12, I have Dull Loggins. I got to figure out how to pronounce it correctly. At number 12 for you have Tim Beck, who we were just talking about. Tell me why you ranked him at number 12.
Yeah, I mean, that, like you said, sometimes some of the places he leaves get better, and where he takes over don't get better, and they regress. I mean, 8-5 in year one because McCall was his quarterback. In year two, they looked unprepared over and over again. I mean, I touch on it. One of Troy's wins was a multi-touchdown victory over Coastal Carolina, and I thought they got worse throughout the year. So big year. I mean, this is a big year for Tim Beck, year three. This should not be around a 500 program, and that's what it's been so far in 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. Do you actually think, is it possible? I mean, you were in the college ranks. Is it possible they may have called if you think about this, I'm joking, but it's if you just said, hey, get me the number of Tim Beck. If you're the athletic director, you're saying to your assistant, give me the number of Tim Beck. We're going to interview him. I heard he's a good coach. I think it's possible that the assistant, or the secretary or whoever looks up Tim Beck, and you got the one that was once a coach at Ohio State, not the one that's been setting D2 and some of the other college football ranks on fire. One I thought was I think there's some validity to this because one was catching my eye at TCU and at New Mexico State. I'm like, damn, this motherfucker is going to be a beast. Why do you think I was on the Vandy over last year? I locked up the Vandy over. I took Vandy money line week 1 against Virginia Tech because this dude, if you pay attention to the coaching world, this dude was a rising star. That's why I thought when the news broke they hired Tim Beck, I thought it was New Mexico State's Tim Beck. It's possible. It's possible here. I know I'm going down the Seinfeld route here, but Tim Beck at number 12 for Moneyline Mac. Number 11 for me, Tony Gibson, the former NC State defensive. This motherfucker, he might win the Royal Rumble for the Sunbelt coaches because he looks kind of jacked. I was making this slide. Well, this one's intriguing to me because you have essentially they're replacing Charles Huff,
who did a good job.
He did a great job. He won at Notre Dame. Marshall was a FCS program when I was really getting into college football in the late 80s and early 90s. Now, they've had big time wins over those years. But Tony Gibson, I will say this. I'm an ECU guy. I hate NC State, which is more confusing. Tim Beck was the NC State OC. I wanted him to stay at NC State because of how bad he was, I thought. I swear to God. I thought okay, dude, as long as he's their OC, they're super conservative. But one guy I will say, if you ask me to evaluate NC State as an ECU fan, their defenses were always good. And they had a physicality to them that I hadn't seen in a while. And that's Tony Gibson's doing. Tony Gibson leaves NC State, which I was happy to see him leave NC State because I know they replaced him with DJ Elliott, but I don't think that's going to. I think they got worse on the defensive side of the ball from a coaching point of view. So I do like the hire in that regard. He's never been a head coach, in the FBS there. So I'm intrigued to see, but part of me is well, it's the unknown. So I'll rank him here, but I was very impressed with his defensive game plans. So I think he might have something going there. That was why I ranked him at 11, but I also think it is tricky filling the holes for a coach that just won the Sunbelt championship. So, just not necessarily won that. I'm saying, beat Notre Dame, you know what I mean? Beat Notre Dame and almost, basically probably their best coach at Marshall since the 90s. So Tony Gibson at number 11. You have Michael Desamoreau at number 11, who also walked into a great scene and finally got it done.
Finally,
with the Raging Cajuns getting a chip. Your thoughts and why'd you have him ranked number 11?
So I another tough guy to rank just because he is coming off Sunbelt Coach of the Year, but I mean, he took over a juggernaut. I mean, we talked about Napier's run at Louisiana. He won 10, 11 games back to back years, and he takes over and they go 6-7 and 6-7. I need to see it another year. Maybe that was a little bit of a one-hit wonder last year. So he did a good job last year. I mean, they went 7-1 in the league. They got to the conference title, but I need to see another year. I need to see him stack 10-win seasons here, or at least a 9-win season if I'm going to buy back in after the underwhelming first 2 years.
Oh, and I'm with you. Look, I was all over them whooping Louisiana in the Sunbelt champion, Marshall. That is
Marshall,
because I thought the players were going to play, and I'm just a skeptic, and that is why at number 10 for me is Michael Desmarais. Now he did get the chip. He got the Sunbelt Coach of the Year. He didn't get the Sunbelt Championship chip, but I was a skeptic of this hire when it happened, and I will say he made me look like a fool last year. So credit to him in that regard. He finally had that breakthrough season, but I still wonder because he walked into the most talented roster, and I know he's a guy that played there. Oh, shit, I remember him playing there, but it took a while for that team being the most talented team and to still not come through with actually winning the championship. To me, I don't know that he's their answer long term. Now he did beat Wake Forest this past year. I think that's getting a P5. I know it's Wake Forest, but still getting a P4 or P5 win, whatever you want to classify that as now, is a big step forward. And they did play Tulane well, but I'm with you, man. I 2 years down the road, is he going to be the head coach there? This might have bought him 2 years this past season, but he
needed it.
Yeah, he really needed it. But if you paid attention to recruiting rankings and stuff, they were the most talented team on paper every single year, and they played in the weaker side of the division some of those years. So, because they still do divisions there in the Sunbelt. So I had him at number 10 as well. You at number 10 had Dow Loggins. You're going with the unknown over Desmarais, which I can get on board. What was the logic here to have Loggins number 10?
Yeah, and I thought Loggins did a good job at South Carolina this last year. I thought they took a jump offensively. But like you said, I went with the two unknowns over the four guys, what I've seen over 1 and 2 years. I'll trust App State that they're going to get this one right.
I mean, you could even make the case that Sean Clark was like, okay, it didn't work out long term, but he still did like a decent job for him. He was 40-24 at App State, including, 2 9-win seasons, a 10-win season. Now it didn't work out. They wanted to move along, and I understand it as someone that I probably watched App State a little closer than most teams. I thought they should have moved on from him, but I feel like you can't classify that as a terrible hire, which makes me think App State does a good job hiring people. With 4 coaches in now.
He got the 2 conference titles or championship games. So yeah, like he
won at Texas A&M.
He lacked consistency.
Yeah, and knowing some people close to the program and stuff, it was a little bit like practices were a little bit all over the place from what I understand. It kind of it felt like the players didn't really necessarily have a leader as a coach, from what I understand. So, but the unknown. I thought this was one when they hired him too. I remember texting my buddy because we pay attention to App. I was like, who the fuck did they hire?
Yeah,
right. It's like the scene in Major League, right? When you're looking at the roster, you say, who's this? But we'll see how it works out. They must have had their reasons. At number 9 for me, shout out to Robert Martin, who's talking about the Lindenwood App State game, which we're all excited about. But yeah, at number 9, and I don't know what's happening with my computer right now as it is continuing to struggle to load.
You're up.
Not on my side. So you see.
I see you. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. You're good.
Yeah, I don't know. My computer is not.
Chat, do you guys see Del McGee?
Yeah. Okay, well, Del McGee to me, yeah, I don't know what's going on with my computer, but Del McGee is one that, like I said, all right, maybe I gave him too much love to a certain extent, but I thought you beat an SEC. I honestly, if you go back and listen to our episode last year, I thought there was a shot that this team could go 0-12. I thought, man, he walks in so late, and I thought the schedule was fucking brutal. I was like, they have Chattanooga, who was a good FCS school, and I was like, they get Georgia Tech, Vandy, 2 Power Fives in their first 3 games. I remember I was high on Georgia Tech and Vandy last year, and then I was like, then you get a month on the road from October 17th to November 9th, and you're drawing Arkansas State and Texas State, who are the top, odds-on favorites besides Louisiana in the West. I mean, Texas State was the favorite to win the whole fucking conference, I think, at one point. So I just thought it was a brutal schedule. I was like, they're not going to make it through this shit. They're going to go like 1-11, 0-12, something like that. Well, damn they got past Chattanooga barely week 2, but by a field goal. But then the Vandy game, Vandy had just beaten Virginia Tech. Vandy looked legit. I mean, to win that game was a fucking. I just praised Tim Beck. I just praised Diego Pavia every fucking episode we've done the past 3 years. And then to me, I'm just gonna say, 7-point loss at App, 7-point loss at UConn, 7-point loss to Arkansas State. They were in some of the games with UConn was a good team last year, right? App State, okay, it wasn't a typical App State year, but still going to Kid Brewer is a tough place to win. They did get their shit pushed in by JMU, but I'm saying I was rather impressed with Del McGee's first season in Atlanta, and I'm intrigued to see where he can take this, because another thing is he was a very good high school coach for a while, so I think he has a little bit more experience than some of the others that maybe gave me a little bit more of appreciation for him. So at number 9, I have Del McGee. You at number 9 have Gibby, Tony Gibson.
Oh yeah.
Tell me why.
I like the fit. First off, I mean, NC State did a great job with the defense. I thought they like you said, they were better on defense than offense. He also was good for the Mountaineers. He was Dana's defensive coordinator. He was also part of Rich Rod's era the first time. Multiple stops at Arizona as well. So he's from the state and he played at Glenville State. So I like the fit. I think he's going to do a good job at Marshall. So I went with another unknown here, but I think I know what I'm getting with Gibson's teams. I think they're going to be hard nosed and they're going to be tough. So I like the fit there at Marshall.
I do too. I think if there's one hire that I feel like I can trust,
yeah,
I think this is the one that I trust the most. That I'm just like, he'll have them at least bowling every year.
Yeah.
So yeah, makes sense there. Shout out to the chat, Big Diego Pavia, the pisser, big fans of him. At number 8, I got Butch Jones. Now, if you know me, if you listen to me over the years, I'm not a big fan of Butch Jones, but I will defend him in this regard. The record is the record, and he's a 103-85 as a head coach. Now, he followed Brian Kelly at Central Michigan. He followed Brian Kelly at Cincinnati.
That's hilarious.
And at Tennessee, I mean, he wasn't horrible, but he wasn't great.
Yeah.
And at Arkansas State, this is year 5 he's going into. His first 4 seasons, he has gotten better each and every year. Now, I think the problem is I know Arkansas State's history. Arkansas State was a program winning a lot of games. You know, they had made a bunch of bowls. I think short of the 2020 season, they had made bowls in a lot of previous years. So I do believe Arkansas State is like more committed to football than some of the other schools, or more committed to winning at football than some of the schools in the conference. So I'm not that taken back by what he has done at Arkansas State, and that's probably why some people would probably have him higher in the conference ranks. But I mean, to me, you look back at a year ago, on paper, they were supposed to be right there with Texas State and Louisiana. Shit, I think in our preview, I think one of them, someone gave them out as like a surprise team. It wasn't me. You look at those two teams that they were basically scheduled or in contention with coming into the season. Texas State beat them 41-9, and then Louisiana beat them 55-19. See, to me, those are two teams that were on that level that just absolutely stuck it to you. They got lucky as hell against ULM too. So, but they did win the bowl game. Shout out to them down there at Hancock Whitney, taking down Bowling Green and Scotty Leffler, and that was before Leffler left too. So he was still there for that one. So in that regard, his record is good. I just don't think he's a great football coach though, especially like on prep. I always feel like he can recruit, he'll bring in talent through the portal and stuff. But as far as like, man, you got to prep for this team. And this is where I feel like it's one of his shortcomings. So Butch Jones at number 8 for me. At number 8 for you is Ricky Ronnie. Why did you have Ronnie at number 8 there?
Yeah, Ronnie, his teams they've kind of just struggled with consistency, in my opinion. They just have not been able to get over that hump and get an 8-9 win season. Now, what I will say is he's had 14 losses in the last 2 years. 11 of them have been by one score. So I feel like they are due for some positive regression in some of these close games, but 20-30 in his 4 years at ODU, 16-16 in conference play. I think middle of the pack is a good spot for Ronnie here. I think he's a pretty good coach. I mean, he comes from the James Franklin tree. He worked for Bill Snyder as well at K-State way back in the day. So I think he's a good coach, but he's got to put it together and overachieve for a year for me.
Yeah. I think he's a good coach too, and I'll be talking about it a little bit here, but that's an interesting nugget there with the one-score games.
Yeah.
At number 7 for me is Major Applewhite, who I will say I was somewhat impressed with last season. I did think he kind of got a little bit of a raw deal at Houston. I know
he wasn't horrible.
But I mean, I know that Army whooped him in that. But
somebody had to get fired.
Yeah. After they score 70 on him. But I was impressed last year, especially knowing what their turnover was and what he was walking into out the gate. I remember watching that North Texas game and thinking, damn, it's going to be a long season for South Alabama. Right. And then a couple weeks later when they won at App 48-14 on like a Thursday night, and I was all over that. I was all over App winning that. I ate shit on that one. Then I was like, damn, his offense with Gio Lopez and Fluff Bothwell, they look nasty. Then you look at the rest of the year. I thought they got better under him. I mean, lost by 2 to Arkansas State, lost by 4 to Georgia Southern, lost by 7 to Texas State, beat Western Michigan and Lance Taylor in the bowl game, and beat the Raging Cajuns. I mean, I was pretty impressed with Major Applewhite. We'll see how it goes in year 2, but he took a step forward in my book with what he did. I know you have him at number 7 as well. Tell me, why'd you have him at number 7?
For sure. And like you said, they improved throughout the year. Their 3 league losses were all by one score. Texas State, like you said, by 7, Georgia Southern by 4. I felt like they were right there. And then at Ark State by 2 points. So they improved throughout the year. They were bad to start, but a sign of optimism for a first-year head coach, get better and better throughout the year. And Applewhite he said he wasn't horrible at Houston, 15-11 in those 2 years, and it felt premature to pull the plug when they did on him, I thought, but it was coming off that Army game, and they're like, all right, so somebody's got to lose their job over this. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to year 2. I know loses Lopez to Carolina, so we'll see what's next with Applewhite's offense in year 2 in Mobile.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hard thing. These jobs got harder because of that, because of losing. Like before, you'd be like, well, I got Lopez. He was a freshman too, man. It was like,
no, he's good.
Yeah. Applewhite at number 7 there for both of us. At number 6 for me is Clay Helton.
He's an interesting one to rank.
Shout out to our boy Clay. That's a big listener that I know does the first down chains there in Statesboro. I'm not a big fan of Clay Helton, to tell you the truth. A lot of it has to do with what he did at USC. I lived in Los Angeles for 20 years, and he was the head coach of 11 of those 20 years. I always thought his teams were unprepared, over penalized. I thought that was a huge hiccup at USC, and I was like, how can he do this at USC, a team that has the most draft picks in the history of the NFL? And then he got to Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern was ditching the triple option, which I still think is a gigantic mistake. They were 6-7 in year 1, 6-7 in year 2, and then last year 8-5. Now, I think if you look a little closer at that 8-5, the conference was down, and I thought he had an opportunity to reap the benefits. But he did have he had a breakthrough season, I guess, with 8 wins. Do I still think Georgia Southern made it? Like, to me, I would have. They're at team identity. To me, they play pussy ball to me right now. To be fair, they go air raid and just like they got some athletes, but to me, anytime yeah, exactly. And down the stretch, I had fun taking them. I think I took Troy on the money line, November 16th, I think it was, and then Sam Houston got him in the bowl game. But last year was a breakthrough. He made me eat some shit last year, but I do want to hit the fact that wait, let me count this real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he played 6 first-year coaches last year. And he was in year 3 is to me the reason why he had the success he had. Now, he might be a nice guy, seems like a nice guy. I'm not a big believer, but I still think his resume is decent enough. His teams are never horrible that I had to rank him here at 6. But I'm curious to see where you rank Clay Helton. But Moneyline Mac at number 6. Tell me about why you have Butch at number 6.
Kind of a lot of the reasons you just laid out for Clay Helton is I don't think he's horrible. I mean, he was good at Central Michigan and Cincinnati. But yeah, he did follow Brian Kelly in both those stops. He wasn't that bad at Tennessee. I know Tennessee fans will shoot you if you say that. But I mean, he had 2 9-win seasons. And Tennessee was a shit show back then. Everybody was losing there before Heupel got there. But after Fulmer. So, and then at Ark State, he's improved every year. 2 wins, 3 wins, 6 wins. They make the jump to 8 wins last year. I think he's average. I don't think he's a great coach, but I definitely think you could do a lot worse than Butch Jones.
Well, yes, and in a conference like this, it's not a bad hire because he can get so many retreads, in the portal. That's what he can do. So Butch Jones there at number 6. At number 5 for me is Bryant Vincent. Now, this is one I expect some people could say, "Man, what are you doing ranking him this high after just a 5-7 season?" Well, to me, it was I think that's the hardest job. Maybe that's like a bottom 5 job in the country in the FBS. Yeah. And he walks in year 1, 5-7, and it was the way they looked. All right, I know down the stretch, I thought they were going to go to a bowl, man. They were 5-1. They were 5-1 and they shit the bed down the stretch, but man, they were in some of those games. The Arkansas State game, who I mentioned earlier, they were there to win that. They had that. The Marshall game, they were right there. But they didn't get it done. 5-7, but that 5-7 at ULM is like the best season they've had in a little bit of time. So I actually think that was a great first year for him. And you go back to what he did at UAB. I thought he did, 6-6 was as an interim head coach. When that news kind of came, I felt like a little late. You saw it with Tim Albin at Ohio. It's tough to be dealt that, especially as your first head coaching position, so late into the offseason. And I just thought they still made a bowl. I obviously they weren't as good as Bill Clark's team, but like I said, it took Tim Albin 2 years. Then he won a MAC championship at Ohio. Sometimes it just takes you a little bit to know your team, your personnel. So I thought he did a really good job. I thought he should have been UAB's head coach moving forward. And I was glad to see him beat the shit out of Trent Dilfer in the Blazers last year. But I think he's a good football coach. And I think if you're a ULM fan, you got your guy. You got your guy moving forward. Let's go. So I'm very impressed year one with Bryant Vincent. And I have him at number 5. For you have Clay Helton at number 5. Explain yourself.
Yeah, and very similar to Butch Jones before. I don't think he's horrible. And I thought, the more and more the years go by and Lincoln Riley's struggling a little bit now, maybe Clay's looking a little bit better at USC. I mean, he was 46-24, 36-13 in the Pac-12. Yeah, it wasn't a overwhelming tenure there, but I will say maybe his best team was the COVID year. Outside of maybe the Rose Bowl and because of their crazy ass policies back then, they kind of they flat out robbed them of a good year. They had one loss to Oregon that year. And then he was fired the very next year. So yeah, I mean, I think it was a missed opportunity a little bit last year.
Definitely last year.
Yeah,
there was blood in the water for the whole conference.
They could have won it.
Yeah, I was like, this should have been their year to capitalize. Now he still won 8 games, and I think that because he was on the hot seat. Georgia Southern's a program that has won a lot in the FCS, and obviously had great success. You remember they beat Florida without throwing a pass in 2014.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, continue.
No, but my point is like I think he's a guy that he's just going to keep you around 7-8 wins. Maybe you pop up and get a 9-win season at Georgia Southern. I don't think they're going to win the league under him, but I also don't think they're going to find a way to get to a bowl game. It's high floor, low ceiling type guy, kind of like Butch.
Yeah, no, I think Helton's a better coach than Butch, like X's and O's, but I think Butch brings in better talent. So it's a tricky thing to try to rank those two. Clay Helton at number 5 for you. At number 4 for me is Ricky Ronnie. And I gotta say, you could chalk this up for Dundee. You're giving him love. He was 5-7 and he hasn't necessarily set the world on fire. He's 20-30, but he was a first year coach when they canceled football for the season. Remember, they won a natty with UConn. They just didn't get the love in the New York Times. He's taken them to 2 bowl. Now he has never had a winning season at Old Dominion, but he's gotten them to 2 bowl games. They've lost those bowl games. I just think that, I understand, he's probably really on the hot seat. In fact, if I had to place a bet, I think he's going to be fired after this year.
Yeah.
But God damn it, he's a good coach. They get rated in the portal every year. Rated. Absolutely
I give you that
rated.
one sports stat.
Yes. Dude, they go back and watch so people were lobbying this past weekend, but also back in December for South Carolina to make the playoffs, right? I challenge anyone to go back and watch Old Dominion, South Carolina, week 1. South Carolina was, a 9-win SEC team a year ago. Old Dominion outgained them, and had Old Dominion not fumbled inside their own 5-yard line with their lawn chair fucking quarterback, they were the better team that day.
Mm-hmm.
And with 2 minutes left, less than 2 minutes left, their quarterback fumbles inside their fucking 10-yard line. And South Carolina gets a cheap touchdown to win that fucking game. I think Ronnie, considering he had lost, I remember previewing him last year. I was like, man, they lost this guy in the portal. They lost this guy in the portal. I think he's a great coach, man. I think like the fact they almost beat all these teams is a testament to his coaching, because I really feel like specifically the past two seasons, they have gotten destroyed in the transfer portal game. So I do think he's a good coach. I mean, another thing is they like beat Virginia Tech one of those years. I mean, he's got some nice wins considering the fact, you know what I mean? So I think he's a good football coach. You keep getting these, your team rated, and you keep putting out like a very competitive product. Now, you might not win all the games, which eventually is going to get you fired. But I still say the guy's a good football coach. Like, they're well prepared to me to battle with some of these teams that I feel like they're not as talented as. So that was my logic on Ricky Ronnie at 4. For you, at number 4 is Bryant Vincent. Explain.
Yeah, I guess it was high. I mean, what was their win total last year? Was it 1.5?
I think so.
Yeah. So everybody put in perspective that when you say he went 5-7 last year, their win total in year one was fucking 1.5. And he eclipsed that after 2 weeks when they beat UAB by 4 touchdowns, which was absolutely fantastic. Another thing that he had to do, he had to go on the road 2 weeks in the SEC. He had to go to Texas. He had to go to Auburn. So like, that's already an unfair schedule that he was already dealt. And I would love to see them pick off Arkansas State or Marshall there to get to a bowl. But all things considered, I mean, beat JMU in year one at UL Monroe.
That was a huge win too, man.
Oh my God. I mean, I thought he may have done the best job out of any coach in the country last year, given what he took over and what he was almost able to pull off.
Yeah. I really do too. I think he did an unbelievable job. I was hoping they would make a bowl. That was the one thing. It's like the way the final 5 games went, especially the Arkansas State game. I thought they had that fucking game, man. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense to have him as one. I mean, I'm 1 ranking off, so we both are very high on Bryant Vincent. At number 3 for me is G.J. Kinne. Some of this logic for me, obviously, he has ignited the Texas State fan base, which for a while there I thought like no one could win here. We saw JMU's Everett Withers go there. We saw Spavital go there, and I thought maybe why is it? Because it's a party school. They're passionate about football. To me, it's like a sleeping giant, right? You're an hour from Austin, or hour and so from Austin. But he's been the guy that really ignited it. Now, however, with that, he ignited it so much that they came in with high expectations a season ago.
Yeah.
And they were 8-5, which is still a very good season at Texas State. But man, they should have beat Arizona State in week 3. I felt like they let him off the hook. The Sam Houston game was fucking insane right after that. They did lose to Old Dominion and Ricky Ronnie. And they lost to Louisiana. And then the really bad one was the Georgia State loss. They're all over the place to me. Now, they did beat their rival, UTSA 49-10. And I do believe he is the right guy for the job. But I couldn't put him higher than 3 just because I thought this was their first year with expectations, like legit expectations. He had overachieved the first couple seasons there. So I thought it finally, or his first season there, but I remember him in the FCS ranks. I just thought they had a target on their back and didn't all the way deliver last year, but still a very impressive and I think a very good coach and a bright future. You wonder how long will he stay at Texas State? He's my number 3. For you at number 3, you have Charles Huff and Puff and blow your fucking house down, who is now the new head coach at Southern Miss with all that Brett Favre blood money down there. Talk to me about Coach Huff there in Hattiesburg.
it's really remarkable that they were able to pull off the coach that won the league last year. I mean, good for Southern Miss here. Yeah, I thought he did a really solid job at Marshall, 32-20, 20-12 in league play. And then they obviously win the conference championship game on his way out last year. I can't believe that they let him walk, even though I do like the Gibby hire. I thought Huff obviously earned another opportunity. But I will say, he didn't take over a horrible situation. I mean, Doc Holliday was solid for a decade there.
Holliday should have never got fired. They're fucking they're maniacs there in Huntington, West Virginia, because Huff should have never got fired.
I still can't believe that he got fired after going 85-54, 55-30 in the last year. They won the league just like Huff. So if you win the league, you're fired.
And they don't technically fire you. They just don't extend you. They just let your contract. You just fizzle out. Yeah, it's like Office Space. It's like we tend to. What's the guy Milton working in the basement? Well, we tend to avoid confrontation. We just tell him you're no longer working here. Am I fired? No, but you're no longer working here. You're no longer getting paid.
Well, Doc played at WU, so fuck Marshall. It's just another reason to chalk it up for me to stick it to Marshall. Idiots. But yeah, I mean, Marshall's had a track record of being a solid program at the mid-major ranks, and Huff did a good job, but I think he's going to do a good job at Southern Miss.
Yeah, and I'm just going to jump into this one because that is my number 2 is Charles Huff. First off, I grew up in the day and age, and I think if you know people from Southern Miss, so ECU was always for a lot of years in the same conference as Southern Miss. Southern Miss in the 80s and 90s under Jeff Bauer they were like the original Boise State. They would fuck you up. I remember them winning at Nebraska, winning at Alabama, winning at Auburn. You know, like they were a fucking team that you knew were a physical team that were just going to give you, 60 minutes of hell. And for whatever reason, they haven't been able to capture that over the past like 7-10 years, something like that. Even when they had some winning seasons, it just was different. They lost that grit. I'm hoping Huff can bring back that toughness because landing him is unbelievable. Like, to your credit on what you said, you just took the sitting head coach of the team that won the championship.
Hilarious.
And dude, they won. This was not like a gimmick. I don't think he was like a terrible coach at Marshall. I know he was 6-7 and 23, but like they won at Notre Dame. That's like that is a win that does wonders for your fucking program. Now, I know the next week they lost to Bowling Green, but still winning at Notre Dame, of course they were dancing around, right? I mean, I just think that they've done he did a really good job at Marshall. And I try not to, because I was mad when they got rid of Doc Holliday too. I think Holliday's a really good coach, but it's not Huff's fault that they wanted to pay him a bunch of money to coach. And I thought he did a damn good job considering. So I think Southern Miss hit a fucking home run here. I think they finally got a guy that's going to be able to win. I'm excited. I think they get Mississippi State week 1 in Hattiesburg. I like his OC hire too, Blake Anderson. Keep an eye out. I love the hire. I think he's the second best coach in this conference. Moneyline Mac number 2, G.J. Kinne. What was the logic here? And obviously we have we have them one spot off.
3. Yeah, we have the same top 3. I don't think it can be said about what he took over too. I mean, Spavital was awful and going 13-35, and Everett Withers before that was 7-28. So Kinne was able to come in and give that program life. And you talked about it. We saw it on that Thursday night game against Arizona State. What that thing can become, and then some of the bigger home games in the Sunbelt. Like, it's a party school. That should be a good home field atmosphere week in and week out. And he's been able to spark that. I know that they want more than just a first responder bowl to show for it and then back-to-back 8 and 5s. But hey, if your second year after what I just laid out with what Spavital and Withers did, that a disappointing year is 8 and 5, I think that speaks volumes to what he's been able to elevate in just 2 years there. Anyone 12-2 is 1 year at IDub as well.
Yeah, IDub that's why I got it confused when I said multiple years. At IDub, he was fire, and he has really ignited that program. I was hoping for a little more as someone that maybe, you know what it might have been is like
It's hard to be that hunted, man. When you go from the hunter, it's hard when that target's on your back.
Well, I think I had a future on them too to make the college football playoffs, just because I was like, man, let me just see, you know, if I could sprinkle this, but it didn't work out. Shout out to Kyle in the chat. Says he loves Moneyline Mac and excited to see him on the college football experience. However, where's Patty C and NC Nick? Well, you know, they'll be back at some point down the road. They have life stuff going on, so we're battling on. You know, it's always been a bunch of different people on the TCE front. So at some point down the road, but right now, we don't have anything set up in the future. But a lot of things, you know, Nick's got kids, stuff like that. He's coaching multiple teams, so at some point we'll figure it all out. But as for right now, it'll be myself, Moneyline Max. Some others will join like they do every year. CJ Sullivan, the Bet Detective, and a few others. But yeah, that's where we're at right there. But glad to see and let's get to number one because we both have the same number one with Bob Chesney. Sounds like a country singer, but Bob Chesney. Well, if you've tuned into me over the years, I have been a huge Holy Cross football fan. In fact, when we were in the studio in LA, I had a Holy Cross TV that we would keep on a designated. If Holy Cross was playing, it has to be on that TV. But Bob Chesney and Holy Cross were a fucking wagon, man. And for a team that to me, and he was great before that at Assumption, I think it was. They were just a money machine for me. Matthew Saluka, who I know everyone gave him shit, who by the way might be the starting quarterback in Harrisonburg this season.
I saw that.
Yes. Matthew Saluka at Holy Cross was a fucking dog. I called him Tebow 2.0. And he was undefeated, I think, or 3-1 or something at UNLV. But Chesney, how about this? Coming into what JMU had, you know, JMU basically played in the college football playoffs. I think 11 of their transfers or 12 of their transfers went to Indiana. And you saw the success they had at Indiana. So he basically had to go in and bring in a roster. He brought in some Holy Cross guys, but they scored 70 points in Kinne Memorial Stadium against Mac Brown in North Carolina. And I think that I highlight that because yes, it's an FBS win, but that was week 3. They had a bunch of players graduate. Then they had a bunch of players leave to Indiana to come in and do that. Score set. I can only think of one other Power 5 team. Now we talked Army did it to Houston, but they were both mid-majors at the time. And that was in a bowl game. I can only think of one other team that dropped 70 at a Power 5, and that's my East Carolina Pirates, who did it to the same very team, North Carolina, say 7 or 8 years ago. But Bob Chesney, they passed. I know they didn't get the Sunbelt championship, which they should have. They should have beaten Marshall. They were up by 17 against Marshall in that game and blew it in double overtime, which would have solidified them, I think, to the Sunbelt championship. I think it was still super, super impressive first season. Like considering it wasn't only like new OC, new GC, it was a big staff change, big roster change, and to still win 9 games, I think it was super fucking impressive. What was your logic of having them won?
Well, and to piggyback what they had to replace, we saw how good those guys were. They went to Indiana and they ran the table and got to the college football playoff. He had to replace a lot and a lot of expectations, and he was the hunted. Yeah, they lost a couple games in league play, but 9-4, good solid year. Now it's time to build off of that, but mainly my reason is he was awesome at Holy Cross. He was awesome at Assumption. Hell, he was awesome at Salve Regina.
Oh yeah, dude,
dude. The New England Football Conference.
The fucking guy can coach, man. Like one of the most impressive things when he was at Holy Cross was they were playing, I think it was South Dakota State, who won the national championship in the FCS. And South Dakota State's resources, I forget what it was. They showed it on the screen of like what Holy Cross pumps into football. It was like nothing, right? Dude, they had them on the edge for a lot of that fucking game. And that was a real game. Like that was at South Dakota State. You know, in FCS, you play short of the national championship. Those are all home games. Now, I think the final score says like 21 because of like a pick six, but man, they gave them fits the entire game. And I've always felt like Boston College, they should have beat Boston College the year before that. Sluka stepped out of bounds on like an 80-yard touchdown run where he shouldn't have stepped out of bounds. He just lost track of it. But he's just a very, very good football coach. And I think you're going to get the maximum out of his team. And to score 70 points at North Carolina week 3 in your first fucking season is fucking insane. So, yeah, we both have Bob Chesney number 1, and they're my favorites to win it this year in the Sunbelt, and I feel pretty decent about that statement there. So if you're big into that, go check out the future market. But yes, that is our show. We both have Bob Chesney number 1. What were you most surprised at? Del McGee or Ricky Ronnie for me, right?
No, I've known that you're high on Ronnie. I was a little surprised on McGee, but it makes sense with just hiring him late. But I also think you could go a lot of different ways. It depends what you value in that bottom half. This is a league of a lot of question marks. I think that's a nice way of putting it. We both think JMU is the best team going into the year, but it's the Fun Belt for a reason. It'll be somewhat open to get to that conference championship game. It usually is.
Yeah, and also the hot seat watch is intriguing here. I mean, you just have a lot of turnover. I'm trying to think.
Ronnie,
who's the longest tenured coach? Is it Ronnie?
I
think it's got to be.
I got Wikipedia. Ronnie was there in 2020. Is anybody else? Yeah, Ronnie's. Ron.
That's hilarious.
To the turnover. I mean, who would be on the hot seat? Ronnie would be on the hot seat.
If Louisiana had a horrible year, their expectations, I think, could be a bit, but I would Tim Beck is certainly, I'm going to say Clay. I'm going to say if Georgia Southern has if they go like 6-7 or 5-7 or something, or let's say they go 5-7, miss a bowl, I think Clay Helton's fired because they have high expectations there, man. This is a program that was winning FCS national championships. And there's a reason. I mean, go look at the last guy they fired, Chad Lunsford. Look at what he did. All it took was let me pull up Chad Lunsford. I want to say he had a 10-win season like the year before or something. No, an 8-win season. So Chad Lunsford was an interim in 17 for Georgia Southern, went 2-4, but then as a head coach in 18, 10-3 with the bowl win, follows that up with a 7-6 season. Follows that up with an 8-5 season and a bowl win, and he starts off 21, 1-3, fired. Their expectations can be a little steep in Statesboro. So watch it, Clay Helton. I would say he's one that it could happen there.
Good Parker, if they go 3-9,
potentially, especially knowing Neil Brown is out there. I can totally see that too.
That's his former coordinator, Gerard Parker.
Which maybe
that's how he got the job, was Neil Brown. He worked for Neil at Troy and West Virginia.
Oh, why did I blank on him at Troy? I knew he was at Dub V. I didn't realize. So there was a tie in there. So I apologize.
Yeah, he wasn't very good. He wasn't very good for Otzi there.
Yeah, I remember him at West Virginia. I just didn't remember him at Troy. So there you go. I sound like a fucking idiot. But anyway, look, we'll be back to talk CUSA and MAC. We will cover those, and we'll cover the nice independents. All right, got only two left: UConn and Notre Dame. But Sac State going to be the next one next season. But yeah, we will be back. And folks, we're ramping up. Starting next week, we will preview 136 teams. That takes us all the way until like August 10th or 12th or something like that. I got a map somewhere over there. Like we do each and every year, 132 teams or 136 teams, 136 episodes. And looking forward to breaking it down for you. I'm already building slides and shit over here. And Robert Martin in the chat saying Tim Beck and Clay Helton will be fired by week 6. Woo!
Jesus,
Hot takes. Moneyline Max on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Once again, YouTube.com/The College Experience. Highly recommend watching the shows with the slides as opposed to listening, but we'll take what we can get. Till next time, folks. This is the College Football Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know what you're getting 'cause the book's rewritten with the cameras. Everybody's trying to stop this team, but we keep on knocking them dead. They make opposing coaches wanna cuss and scream and pull their hair right out of their head. Run and shoot.